Millionaire uncovers deceptive child secret after a decade. The shocking truth emerges. The city buzzed like a hive, its towering skyscrapers reaching for the stars, while dreams faltered on the streets below. In the heart of it all stood Oliver West, a titan in tech. A decade of hard work had transformed his modest idea into a colossal empire. Yet, as he gazed out from his penthouse, the view that once exhilarated him now felt like a gilded cage. Lavish parties in his sprawling apartment, filled with laughter and clinking glasses, had become hollow echoes. The adrenaline rush of closing deals couldn't fill the gnawing emptiness inside. He surrounded himself with the finest things, luxury cars, designer suits, and a cadre of sycophants. But the tighter he held on to these possessions, the more elusive happiness seemed. One evening, as his fingers brushed over the discarded papers on his antique desk, he stumbled upon an old photograph. The edges were crinkled with time. A sense of loss surged through him, mingling with a desire to uncover what had happened. Had they drifted apart? Or was there something more sinister at play? It felt urgent, like a call from the past. That very night, Oliver plunged into the depths of his memories, piecing together what had been lost. His search led him to faded documents, dusty family archives, filled with her name scrawled on adoption records. Each revelation drummed up questions. How had she vanished from his life so completely? And then the whispers started. Friends, former colleagues, everyone he thought he knew began to act strangely. A subtle glance here, a hushed conversation there. Was he imagining things? Or was there a conspiracy wrapped around his existence? Just when fragmented truths began to coalesce into a coherent narrative, a cryptic message pinged on his phone, shattering his nascent resolve. I know what you found, Oliver. You're not alone in this. Someone is always watching. His heart raced, pounding in sync with the rising tension around him. Every shadow felt like an omen, every silence a scream, echoing off the walls of his penthouse. The city glittered outside, indifferent to the chaos brewing within. What if the revelations about Lily weren't just painful truths, but ripples in a much larger pond of lies? Oliver found himself at a crossroads. He could turn back, hide behind the shiny facade he had built, or plunge deeper into the murky waters of the unknown. With each thump of his heart, the choice became clearer. Time to unravel the thread of this family secret. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up, and while you're at it, leave a like to help me. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Oliver's heart pounded louder than ever, the rhythmic thumping matching his thoughts, racing through the chaos. The message loomed large, an ominous specter in the room. You're not alone in this. Whoever had sent it clearly knew more than he could fathom. Cold sweat trickled down his spine. Paranoia enveloped him. Shadows danced where there shouldn't be any. He turned to the window, desperate for clarity. The city sprawled like a labyrinth of lights and noise. He could almost hear the whispers outside. secrets draped in the fog of night. Was he losing his mind? The walls of his penthouse felt like they were closing in. A sudden noise jolted him, a sharp crack, like thunder splitting the air. Startled, he spun around. The double doors of his apartment swung open. In stormed a figure, silhouetted against the blaring city lights. It was Claire, his assistant, breathless and wild-eyed. "Oliver, you need to see this!" She thrust her phone towards him, the screen aglow with a news alert. His stomach sank. The headline screamed, "Tech billionaire's hidden past uncovered. Foster sister disappears under mysterious circumstances." The article detailed Lily's life, mentioning not only her adoption, but also a darker narrative. Rumors of illegal activities, whispers of a twisted past. "Claire, what does this mean?" Oliver's voice cracked, his mind racing. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about Lily. His voice trembled as questions surged forth. Had she fallen victim to something sinister? Who were the people surrounding him? Who could he trust? Claire's eyes darted to the floor. "Oliver, there's more! I've been doing some digging. I think," she hesitated, fear wrapping around her words. "I think Lily is in trouble. I found a connection to a group known for trafficking and exploitation." Her revelation hung heavy in the room, each word striking like a hammer. A visceral horror twisted in Oliver's gut. "What? How? You're telling me she's—" He couldn't finish. They both knew what it meant. This wasn't just a family secret. It was a malignant root festering in the shadows. Claire bit her lip, swallowing hard. "She might be alive, Oliver, but nothing is what it seems. I found evidence that connects some of your business partners to these individuals." The realization struck him like a slap. The friends he had trusted, celebrated with, the very people who raised his glass in toasts were potentially involved in this nightmare. The bustling city outside faded into an ominous drone. A web of lies circled tighter around him, ensnaring everything he had built. Suddenly, his phone chimed again. Another message from the mysterious watcher. "Take a step back, Oliver. You don't know the truth about your own family." The challenge was clear, a dare laced in menace. Panic surged through him, a tsunami of dread and uncertainty. Every smile he had shared, every handshake felt tainted. He stepped back, trying to process the flood of information weighing heavy on his weary mind. Could it be true? Were the people who cared for him, who cheered his every success, also entangled in this web? "No," he whispered, anger swelling in his chest. "I won't be afraid." But fear clawed at him, relentless and suffocating. "Oliver, we have to act fast. Whoever's watching is closing in." Claire grabbed his arm, the urgency in her grip igniting his fight-or-flight instincts. "We'll find her. We'll uncover what happened. We have to." His resolve hardened, a spark igniting within the gloom. But deep down, a question loomed like a storm cloud. What if the truth was darker than he could ever imagine? As he stood on the brink of something much larger than himself, he felt the undeniable weight of a family secret that could shatter everything he thought he knew. Oliver's heart thudded, adrenaline coursing through him. Claire's urgency fueled his rising panic. They had to move fast, but every minute felt like an eternity. He stepped closer to her, eyes fixed on the news alert, his sister's face staring back at him, frozen in time among headlines of disaster. "Oliver, we need to get to her," Claire urged, her voice slicing the tension. "If she's really in trouble." Before she could finish, a loud crash echoed through the hallway, cutting through their conversation. A figure stumbled in, bloodied and frantic. It was Lily. For a moment, Oliver didn't recognize her. But there she was, hair disheveled, clothes torn, and eyes wide with fear. "Help me!" she gasped, collapsing to the floor, leaving a trail of crimson in her wake. "Lily!" Oliver's breath caught in his throat. He rushed to her side, his hands shaking as he knelt beside her. "What happened? Who did this to you?" Lily's gaze flitted between the two of them. Panic etched in every line on her face. "They're coming," she whispered, trembling. "I don't have much time." "Whoa. Who's coming?" Claire's voice was steady, but Oliver could sense her fear rising like a tide. I saw things I shouldn't have," Lily stammered, glancing over her shoulder, as if expecting shadows to reach out for her. Just then, Oliver's phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message. "She is not who you think she is." A chill swept through him. "What do you mean?" he demanded, turning back to Lily, whose eyes were wild with desperation. "What did you see?" "They're involved in everything, the business, the deals, and I saw them." She gasped, struggling to catch her breath. "They were meeting." "Your partners." "They are." Suddenly the power went out, plunging them into darkness. Panic surged. Shadows danced across the walls, enveloping them in claustrophobic fear. "Get down!" Claire shouted, pulling Oliver and Lily behind the desk. The sound of footsteps echoed outside, growing louder. Oliver's pulse raced. He pressed his ear to the cold floor, hearing muffled voices. They were close. Lily, still on the ground, began to shake her head. "I can't stay. You don't understand. They'll come for you too!" "What do you mean?" Oliver's words came out sharp, filled with desperation. "We can't leave you! You're safe here!" But she laughed, a sound drenched in sorrow and disbelief. "Safe? There's no safety, Oliver! I'm the reason they're here!" His heart sank, confusion churning within him. "What? No! You're my sister! We have to stick together! We can figure this out, please!" Lily's eyes softened for just a second, then hardened again. "No, I'm not who you think I am. We're not related by blood, Oliver. I was never adopted. I'm here because they made sure I was, and now I have to pay the price." Terror wrapped around Oliver's throat, choking back the words. "What are you saying? This doesn't make sense." The footsteps grew louder. Claire stared at Lily, disbelief flickering across her features. "Wait! You're saying you're in on this?" "I didn't choose this," Lily cried, tears streaming down her face. "I only wanted to survive." A loud crash came from the door. They were here. Oliver gripped Lily's shoulders, searching her desperate eyes for a sign of hope. But all he saw was dread. What game had he been part of? The layers of his reality peeled back, revealing a chaos that threatened to consume him. "Get ready," Claire said, her voice steady as the door splintered. "We fight together. Whatever this is, we can't back down now." But deep down, Oliver's heart sank with the weight of Convert's betrayal. What if everything he believed about his family, about life, was a twisted lie? A scream echoed in the distance, and as he braced himself for the storm, he questioned one thing above all. Could he truly trust anyone, even the sister he thought he knew? Oliver's heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through him. Claire's urgency fueled his rising panic. They had to move fast, but every minute felt like an eternity. He stepped closer to her, eyes fixed on the news alert, his sister's face staring back at him, frozen in time among headlines of disaster. "Oliver, we need to get to her," Claire urged, her voice slicing through the tension. "If she's really in trouble." Before the doors to the penthouse burst open again, slamming against the walls. A figure stumbled in, bloodied and frantic. It was Lily! For a moment, Oliver didn't recognize her. But there she was, hair disheveled, clothes torn, and eyes wide with fear. "Help me!" she gasped, collapsing to the floor, leaving a trail of crimson in her wake. "Lily!" Oliver's breath caught in his throat. He rushed to her side, his hands shaking as he knelt beside her. "What happened? Who did this to you?" Lily's gaze flitted between the two of them, panic etched in every line on her face. "They're coming," she whispered, trembling. "I don't have much time." Who's coming?" Claire's voice was steady, but Oliver could sense her fear rising like a tide. I saw things I shouldn't have," Lily stammered, glancing over her shoulder, as if expecting shadows to reach out for her. Just then, Oliver's phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message. "She is not who you think she is." A chill swept through him. "What do you mean?" he demanded, turning back to Lily, whose eyes were wild with desperation. "What did you see?" "They're involved in everything, the business, the deals, and I ran. I saw them," she gasped, struggling to catch her breath. "They were meeting your partners. They are." Suddenly the power went out, plunging them into darkness. Panic surged, shadows danced across the walls, enveloping them in claustrophobic fear. "Get down!" Claire shouted, pulling Oliver and Lily behind the desk. The sound of footsteps echoed outside, growing louder. Oliver's pulse raced. He pressed his ear to the cold floor, hearing muffled voices. They were close. Lily, still on the ground, began to shake her head. "I can't stay." "You don't understand. They'll come for you too." "What do you mean?" Oliver's words came out sharp, filled with desperation. "We can't leave you. You're safe here." But she laughed, a sound drenched in sorrow and disbelief. "Safe? There's no safety, Oliver. I'm the reason they're here." His heart sank, confusion churning within him. "What? No! You're my sister. We have to stick together. We can figure this out. Please!" Lily's eyes softened for just a second, then hardened again. "No, I'm not who you think I am. We're not related by blood, Oliver. I was never adopted. I'm here because they made sure I was. And now I have to pay the price." Terror wrapped around Oliver's throat, choking back the words. "What are you saying? This doesn't make sense." The footsteps grew louder. Claire stared at Lily, disbelief flickering across her features. "Wait, you're saying you're in on this?" "I didn't choose this," Lily cried, tears streaming down her face. I only wanted to survive. A loud crash came from the door. They were here. Oliver gripped Lily's shoulders, searching her desperate eyes for a sign of hope. But all he saw was dread. What game had he been part of? The layers of his reality peeled back, revealing a chaos that threatened to consume him. "Get ready," Claire said, her voice steady as the door splintered. "We fight together. Whatever this is, we can't back down now." But deep down, Oliver's heart sank with the weight of Convert's betrayal. What if everything he believed about his family, about life, was a twisted lie? A scream echoed in the distance, and as he braced himself for the storm, he questioned one thing above all. Could he truly trust anyone, even the sister he thought he knew? Then, just as the door broke open, a loud beeping pierced the air. A small device rolled into the room. A flash burst before his eyes, blinding him for a second. When he regained focus, a man stood tall in the doorway. A masked figure with a gleaming knife in hand. But it wasn't just any intruder. Oliver's stomach dropped. It was Jason, the business partner he had trusted most. The one who had celebrated every milestone with him. "Did you really think you could just walk away?" he sneered, voice low and menacing, eyes glinting with something dark. "You've dived into a pool you can't escape now. Welcome to the game!" Lily gasped. You're a part of this?" The truth hit Oliver hard, like a punch to the gut. Suddenly, everything he thought he knew about his empire was a lie. Jason stepped forward, eyes narrowed with malice. "Here's the real surprise. Lily isn't just a pawn in this. She's the key, and now you've both opened a door you can't close. Get ready for the consequences." As the shadows of betrayal closed in around them, Oliver felt the ground shift beneath him. Everything he held dear could come crashing down. An urgent question throbbed in his mind. How could he ever trust again when the walls crumbled around him? Oliver's breath hitched as Jason's gaze bored into him. The knife glinted in the dim light, a cruel reminder of the danger that surrounded them. Everything he thought he understood unraveled like the delicate silk threads of his once ideal life. He felt Claire's grip tighten on his arm, her eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. "Game?" Oliver whispered, disbelief slithering through his veins. "You're talking about a game? Don't pretend you don't know what I mean." Jason's voice dripped with contempt. "Every move you've made has only led you to this moment. You've played right into my hands." Lily quaked on the floor, her eyes darting back and forth, as if trying to come to terms with the madness around her. "You're lying," she shouted. "You can't be involved in this. I won't let you." But Jason only chuckled, a chilling sound that echoed in the small apartment. "You still don't get it, do you?" His smile twisted into something sinister. "You were just a pawn, Lily. And Oliver? Well, he thought he could save you. Save himself? What a joke." Another crash reverberated through the hallway, closer now. Oliver's heart raced. The walls felt like they were closing in, suffocated by shadows. His insecurities, failures, and all the people he had placed his trust in. What kind of monster had he been helping? Had he ever truly known the people by his side? Then, as the door bulged under the force of an impending storm, a loud explosion rattled through the building. It wasn't a blast from a weapon, but something much worse. The apartment shook, and a shard of glass flew past him, barely missing his face. The power flickered back on, but clarity came at a price. Smoke poured in from the corridor, thick and suffocating. "Run!" Claire screamed. Jason, realizing his moment was lost, lunged toward them, but Oliver was quicker. He pushed past him and dragged Lily to her feet. Fire crackled somewhere in the distance, lighting up the room in erratic bursts. Every second counted now. They fled, stumbling past a terrified Claire who managed to duck under Jason's wild swing. But just as they reached the exit, Jason shouted, "You'll regret this! You think running will save you?" Oliver's heart thundered in his chest. "We have to go," he urged. They burst through the door into chaos. The hallway was dim, hazy with smoke, but Oliver's instincts drove him forward. He dragged Lily behind him, glancing back only briefly to see Jason staggering in the flames. His fury alive in the inferno. But as they raced down the stairs, Oliver's mind whirled with confusion, anger, and a smoldering fear. "Lily, what are you talking about? What did you see?" Lily's haunted eyes turned to him. "It's worse than you know. You're tied to this, tied to me. I thought they took me just to cover up the past. But it's deeper. Just before I ran, I heard them. They discussed you. You weren't supposed to be alive." "What? What are you saying?" Blood rushed through Oliver's ears, drowning his thoughts. Memories tumbled like loose leaves lost in autumn. Nothing made sense. Suddenly, as they reached the exit door, it flew open. A figure stood silhouetted against the blinding daylight, covered in soot. It was someone he knew, someone he trusted. "Oliver, it's me!" The voice rang familiar, but it was accompanied by an unsettling unease. Oliver squinted against the brightness to see Claire's face. Her clothes were tattered, smeared with ash, but her eyes held something deeper, a glimmer of betrayal. "Claire, are you okay?" He stumbled forward, panic rising, but the flicker in her eyes was too severe, too knowing. "You need to listen to me. I'm connected to this world too. You can't trust anyone." Before she could explain, a deafening roar echoed from behind them. The fire had spread, engulfing the stairwell, and the air thickened with fear. "What do you mean you're connected?" Oliver shouted, clutching Lily's arm tighter. As the flames licked closer, Claire stepped in front of them, shielding them with an intensity that echoed desperation. "Because Oliver, I'm your sister too." The weight of her words crashed over him. A wave of betrayal and shock, washing away the last vestiges of his belief in certainty. The revelation hung heavy in the air. As Oliver searched her eyes for truth, doubt spiraled. The world he had fought to navigate, the relationships he thought grounded, crumbled before him. He felt the ground shift beneath his feet. "Then who am I?" he gasped. Echoes of sirens wailed nearby, a haunting reminder of approaching chaos. The pathway ahead blurred into uncertainty, and as they stood together amidst the smoke, the question loomed larger than life. Were they all puppets in a game they couldn't escape? Oliver's head spun as Claire's revelation hung in the air. "I'm your sister, too." The words struck like thunder in his chest. It didn't feel real. His heart raced with confusion, tangled emotions clouding his thoughts. Before he could process, Claire gripped his arms. "We're all part of this, whatever this is. It's bigger than you know." The adoption, Lily, everything was manipulated. Just as Oliver opened his mouth to respond, the door behind Jason crashed wide open. A horde of masked figures burst into the smoke-filled hallway. They moved with deadly precision, completely focused, weapons at the ready. Panic surged as they fanned out, the hungry eyes scanning for their prey. "Run!" Claire shouted, pulling Oliver and Lily closer to her. The urgency in her voice snapped him back into action. They stumbled forward, but fear gripped Lily's arm. "Wait!" she cried, glancing back at the figures converging. "We can't leave without knowing what they want!" "Lily, there's no time," Claire urged. In the chaos, Jason began to regain his footing, readying himself to charge again. But then, suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the air. One of the figures had fired a gun, the sound splitting the tension. It pierced through Oliver's mind, freezing everything around him. The shot missed, ricocheting off the wall, but it sent their hearts crashing further into terror. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry!" A familiar voice echoed through the haze, slicing through the madness. Oliver turned, eyes wide. "Mom?" A woman stepped through the figures, standing tall and confident despite the chaos. His mother, Jennifer West, eyes fierce and full of authority. The world tilted, shattering all Oliver ever believed. "You shouldn't have dragged them into this, Claire," she said, voice steady. Claire stepped back, shock churning in her eyes. "Mom, you're involved? Why?" "I had no choice," Jennifer shot back, eyes flicking between the tension around them. "They were coming for you, Oliver." "I did everything to protect you." "Protect me from what?" Oliver's voice cracked, anger bubbling beneath the surface. Everything he thought he knew shattered before him. The smoke thickened, twisting around them as his heart raced with betrayal. A figure advanced, weapon raised. Oliver barely registered the movement before Jennifer reacted. She shot out a hand, a signal to the masked figures. "Stand down!" "Mother, this is insane!" Claire yelled. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because you couldn't handle it. None of you could." Jennifer's voice thundered, filled with unyielding power. "You're both pawns in something much bigger. I only wanted you safe." "Pawns?" Oliver's breath quickened. "You mean we're tied to all this? The business? Lily?" Lily trembled, backing away from Oliver, a look of disbelief crossing her features. "I was right all along. I'm not who you think I am. I might have been manipulated just like you." "Stop!" Oliver shouted, grasping for any semblance of stability in this twisted family reunion. But it was too late. Jennifer's fierce eyes turned, a flicker of something darker dancing within. "What if I told you, you are not just a West? You're connected to something else, something powerful." "Stop it!" Oliver felt a lump in his throat. Nothing made sense. The walls around him crumbled, everything spiraling into chaos. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the gunfire erupted again. A shot rang out, and everything froze. The blast echoed, but Oliver had no time to comprehend what unfolded next. His mother stepped in front of him, taking the hit. "No!" Oliver screamed, falling to his knees as Jennifer crumpled to the ground, blood pooling beneath her. "What have you done?" Claire whispered, shock spilling from her lips. The figures hesitated, then moved in closer. A new order had taken shape within the chaos, and within that moment, Oliver felt the full weight of betrayal, loss, and revelation mingling into one chaotic storm. "Get up! Get up!" he shouted, scrambling to his feet. But the glimmer of hope flicked away like a candle snuffed out. The truth had seared into his soul. They were all entangled in this web, each thread pulled tighter than he'd ever imagined. As Lily wailed, darkness enveloped them, and he stood helpless, drowning in revelations that threatened to consume his very identity. Could he ever escape this nightmare? And if he survived, what would remain of him? Of the family he once believed in? Oliver fell to his knees, the chaos around him fading into a distant hum as his mother's body lay sprawled on the ground, a reflection of his shattered world. Time felt frozen, the air thick with disbelief and horror. He screamed, his voice cracking, desperate. Claire gasped, her face pale, clasping her hand over her mouth. Lily was wide-eyed, trembling, and backpedaling in horror, the truth of their existence breaking apart before her like fragile glass. "Get back!" Jason shouted, taking advantage of the disarray, his weapon raised again. But now, a different kind of panic enveloped them. The masked figures stood still, uncertainty flipping the atmosphere like a switch. "Who's in charge here?" one of the masked figures asked, breaking the tense silence. "Stand back!" Jason barked, but he seemed jittery now, his bravado slipping. In that moment, someone stepped forward from the shadows, a figure they hadn't noticed until now. It was an old man, frail yet commanding, with sharp eyes that looked far too wise for his years. "Enough," he said, his voice steady and cold. Everyone turned, and a collective hush fell over the scene. "You've all been misled," he continued, "structured by a game only a few can comprehend. The truth is deeper than any of you realize." Oliver's mind reeled. "What do you mean?" He struggled to understand, clutching Lily's hand, fear coursing through him. He opened his mouth, ready to scream, but the old man held up a hand. "Listen, all of you. It began long before today, hidden in shadows and secrets. I know what you think happened here, but..." He paused, scanning their faces, satisfaction evident in his gaze. "I've seen everything." Suddenly, a blinding light flooded the hallway as the entrance at the end opened wide. Emergency workers, sirens wailing, flooded into the building. The masked figures shifted uneasily, sensing their escape evaporating. In the chaos, Oliver finally found his voice. "You're telling me you orchestrated this?" The man smiled, revealing a mouth full of yellowing teeth. "Not I, but I know your mother's true purpose. Your entire life was a facade." A chill ran down Oliver's spine. "What are you saying?" The old man leaned closer, his breath heavy with secrets. "Jennifer West is not who you think. The blood you share, it means nothing." "What?" Claire whispered, disbelief writhing on her face. The figure nodded slowly, continuing. "You were abducted to weave a lineage that doesn't exist, for a scheme spanning generations. Your mother was the price of entry, her life a pawn for our true legacy." "What legacy?" Oliver's voice trembled, the words scraping against his throat. Without warning, the man raised a device that looked like a remote. He pressed a button, and a holographic image flickered to life in the haze of smoke. It displayed photos of an underground network, names crossed out, bloodlines tethered together in horrific connections. They thought they were dismantling you, but they created a seat for you at the table of power. And now that Jennifer has fallen, it's your turn to play. No! Oliver shouted, shaking with anger. I don't want this. But the man's eyes glinted, anticipating the chaos. But you're already in, my boy. You'll have to decide soon. Embrace it or reject it. Either way, the game goes on. A dull thud resonated through the hall, the masked figures retreating slowly. Sirens screamed closer. This is where the real danger began. What do we do? Lily's voice quaked, looking between Oliver and Claire, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, Claire begged, we have to get out. But every heartbeat thudded like a war drum in Oliver's ears. The truth had shattered everything. He looked back at the growing chaos, the world he thought he knew crumbling. What if I don't want any of this? He murmured, hysteria creeping into his voice. The old man stepped closer, eyes burning with unsettling intensity. That choice will lead to almost certain death for you and yours. Choose wisely. Faced with a future he never asked for, Oliver stood in the eye of a storm, a decision looming. Would he take the mantle of a legacy he wished to escape, or plunge into the uncertain abyss, risking everything? As the shadows converged, Oliver realized one crucial truth. Some secrets refuse to die, hidden in the darkness of our family's past. And now, it was him against the world. What would happen next? Oliver's heart thudded, panic clawing at him as the masked figures closed in. The weight of the old man's words pressed like a vice around his chest. He was part of something much larger, something sinister. Could he truly survive this? Oliver, we need to go, Claire urged, breaking through his fog of shock. The sirens were getting closer, but something dark flickered in the shadows. He felt the grip of dread tighten. Get out of my way, Jason yelled, trying to shove past the mass of chaos. But the old man leaned closer, a smirk stretching across his face. You have a decision to make, boy. Power or family? What will you choose? Before Oliver could respond, the full weight of the world shifted in an instant. A loud crash shattered the tension as a figure burst through the doorway. Another masked person? No, it was Detective Hassan. Eyes blazing, gun drawn, standing tall among the smoke and shadows. FBI, get on the ground, he shouted. Detective, Claire exclaimed. But something shifted in Hassan's gaze. He had the gun trained not just on Jason, but on them all, his demeanor crackling with tension. Drop your weapons, now! I thought you were here to help, Claire shrieked. But instead of detaining Jason or the masked crew, Hassan's eyes narrowed. No one is here to help. You're all part of this. Something flickered within Oliver. What do you mean, part of this? Hassan stepped closer, a dangerous tension gripping the room. Your mother pulled strings. You're not just players in a game. You're the pieces in a conspiracy. No! Oliver shouted, feeling his grip on reality slip. You can't be serious! Hassan's gaze bore through him. You think this was just about power? Jennifer West was leading a double life. She could bring the entire network down, but not without consequences. Another blast shook the building. Smoke poured in, and panic soared as the masked figures turned. Their orders had just shifted, a new direction. As the sirens from the emergency team approached, the reality of their situation began to sink in. "Enough of this!" Lily cried, voice breaking. She grasped Oliver's arm, the urgency electrifying the air between them. "We have to—" But before she could finish, a horrifying realization struck. The ground quaked beneath them, and both Jason and the old man turned to Hassan. A mix of fury and fear danced across their expressions. "Did you think they wouldn't come to hold you accountable?" Hassan's voice spun with menace. "You brought them into this. I see the threads you've woven, and they're suffocating." Suddenly, flames erupted from the doorway, casting wild shadows that flared like the depths of hell. The masked figure shifted, eyes wide, panic igniting the air. "We can't let them escape!" one shouted, rushing toward the chaos. Without warning, one of them whipped around and fired at the ceiling. A deafening boom exploding through the air. Debris fell around them in a shower of bricks and dust. "Lily, run!" Oliver yelled, pulling her away. But Claire froze, realization dawning. No, you weren't just a detective. You were always... Hassan turned, his expression morphing into something darker, revealing a hidden truth. The air turned electric. "Yes, Claire. I was, and I wanted to save you. The family business," she whispered, fear and loathing painting her features. "Put them down," Hassan commanded coldly. "Hassan, you can't betray us!" Lily cried, horror splintering her voice. But then, from the depths of chaos, came a screeching cacophony. A vehicle rammed into the building, bursting through the remnants of the door. In that moment of utter disbelief, the scene crystallized into a shocking tableau. A familiar figure emerged from the wreckage. Jennifer, alive and shrouded in flame, stepping forth, bloodied and fierce. "Mom?" Oliver gasped, caught between disbelief and horror. "Enough!" she screamed, voice commanding, as the smoke curled around her. But something in her gaze was cold, calculating. "It's all a game, and you've all played it perfectly." Before he could even process her presence, Oliver felt the ground shift beneath him again, the very foundation of his life swaying. "Who are you?" he shouted, heart pounding. The air crackled with tension, every glimmer of hope dashed against the hard reality. As his mother faced him, eyes blazing with ambition, everything he thought he knew shattered like glass. "Mom, tell me the truth. Who are we?" She merely smiled, a darkness hidden beneath her calm expression. "Oh, Oliver, it's time you learned how deep the rabbit hole goes." In that moment, an uncontrollable shake of fear burst within him. The flames flickered brighter, edging closer. Would they all fall into this abyss? Oliver's heart raced as he struggled to comprehend the whirlwind of chaos before him. The flames flickered, casting a surreal glow on his mother's face, her expression shrouded in shadow and manipulation. "Mom, tell me the truth! Who are we?" he shouted again, desperate for clarity amid the rising tide of confusion. Jennifer stepped forward, blood dripping from her brow, but her confidence remained unyielding. It's deeper than blood, Oliver. There's a reason we're all here. You're tied to something greater. For once, can you just speak plainly? What are you talking about? Claire's voice cut through the haze, trembling but firm, a stark reminder of their shared intensity. But before Jennifer could respond, a loud explosion erupted from behind them. A window shattered, glass flying like sharp confetti. A blinding light exploded into the cramped space, forcing everyone to squint against the sudden brightness. As the smoke cleared momentarily, something unbelievable emerged from the chaos. A figure strode through the debris, a man in an opulent, tailored suit, face smeared with soot, but unmistakably familiar. Well, 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 isn't this a family reunion? It was Richard, Oliver's estranged father, the one he thought had vanished from their lives years ago. "Dad?" Oliver whispered, disbelief consuming him. "You! How? Why are you here?" Richard stood tall, a smirk forming at the corners of his mouth. "Did you really think I wouldn't return? All these years I've been watching, orchestrating everything from behind the scenes. You're not just my son, Oliver. You're the chosen one." Chosen for what? Oliver's brain struggled to make sense of this revelation. He felt the ground beneath him wobble, as if it had been pulled away. Your mother tried to keep it hidden, but it's time you knew. The West family legacy isn't just about the business, it's about power dynamics that control everything. The networks, the alliances, and even the shadows in which you stand. "No, you can't be serious," Claire shouted, her resolve crumbling. "You've played us all." "Yes, I did," Richard replied smoothly. "But it's so much more than that. You're connected to every aspect of it. We all are." "Then why were you gone?" "Why leave us?" Oliver felt the weight of betrayal press against his chest like a heavy anchor. But before Richard could respond, Lily stepped forward, fear and anger flooding her face. "You're lying! This is all a game to you! I refuse to be a piece on your board!" Strange glint flickered in Richard's eyes. "Oh, but you already are, Lily. You just don't know how crucial you are to this." He took a step closer, and for a moment, the chaos faded, tension thickening in the air. As the confrontation swirled, another explosion burst from the hallway, sending everyone sprawling. The lights flickered, and in the blinding flash, Oliver caught a glimpse of movement. A figure from the shadows was sprinting toward them. "Run! Out this way!" A voice cried, and Oliver's heart jolted. It was his childhood friend, Mia, who he thought had vanished years ago. They all blinked in astonishment as Mia darted through the smoke. Red streaked across her clothes. "You're all in danger! He's here! He knows where you are!" All feeling rushed out of Oliver, the weight of the world crashing down as he wrestled with doubt. Then suddenly, the twisted ties of family began to unravel before his eyes. Who's coming? What are you talking about?" But before she could explain, Jason surged back into the fray, fear etched in every feature. "Stay away from them, Mia." "I don't think so," she shot back, steel in her voice. The connections fizzled and sparked around him. Who could he trust? As chaos took hold, a sudden realization swept through Oliver. If Richard had orchestrated this family chaos, yet Mia appeared with dire warnings, could it be that everyone was playing a role in a larger game? One he was just starting to comprehend? And what of Claire? The lines started to blur. Where loyalty lay was turning into a fog of uncertainty. "What do we do?" Lily's voice trembled, a fragile thread amid the storm. "Just keep moving," Oliver shouted, feeling a deep confusion that gnawed at him. The air was thick with tension, and everything was about to explode. Yet beneath the chaos, in that moment of revelation, a chilling question loomed like a storm cloud. What if everything Oliver believed, his family, his life, was merely a pawn in a darker game? And at what cost would the truth come to light? The chaos erupted around them, flames licking the walls, smoke swirling in acrid gusts. "Nom!" Oliver shouted, kneeling beside his mother's fallen figure, disbelief choking him. The air felt heavy, the crackling flames punctuating every heartbeat with terror. "Oliver, go!" Claire urged, pulling him back. She grabbed Lily's arm, dragging her away from the encroaching fire. "We can't stay here." But Oliver couldn't tear his eyes away from Jennifer. The truth, the lies, everything collapsing in waves of emotion. "You can't leave me like this," he pleaded, dread washing over him like a cold wave. "No time," Claire insisted, voice sharp as glass. "We need to get out." Suddenly, the old man stepped forward, face twisted in a mix of anger and sorrow. "You've all been used," he spat, as masked figures collapsed around them, unsure of what to do next. "But it's not too late. You can fight back." But just then, Jason lunged, and everything felt like it was spiraling. The power of betrayal exploded as a shot rang out. Oliver's heart jumped. This was it, the moment where everything either ended or changed forever. "Mom!" screamed Lily, fingers clawing at the air, confusion taking over as Jennifer's body remained still. "Run!" Oliver roared, grabbing Lily and Claire. Pushing through the madness of swirling shadows and urgent whispers, they barreled toward the door, out into blinding daylight. Outside, the sunlight was almost too much, casting stark shadows on their faces. The sirens echoed louder now, a cacophony of chaos and resilience. They stumbled into the street, gasping for air, limbs trembling with fear and adrenaline. "What do we do now?" Lily's voice quivered, her eyes darting nervously. "Stick together," Claire said, visibly shaken yet resolute. "If we want to uncover the truth about all this, we can't let them win. We need to find out who we really are." Oliver felt a profound shift in his soul. This isn't just about family anymore. It's about power and what we choose to do with it. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, he saw Mia rushing toward them, out of breath but alive. "You have to trust me. I can help you piece this all together. You're stronger than you think, Oliver." Every kernel of doubt within him shifted. He turned to face his friends, a fire igniting in his chest. "We can find the answers together." But just as they aimed to plan their next steps, a black SUV screeched to a halt in front of them, doors flinging open. His father, Richard, emerged, looking far more alive than he should have after all they had learned. "Get in!" he shouted, urgency bursting from every syllable. There was a beat of hesitation. Confusion swirled, memories of betrayal tangled with half-hearted hope. "Is he telling the truth?" Claire asked, uncertainty etched across her face. "It's either trust him or be taken down by those who have already tried to destroy us," Oliver yelled, desperation fueling him. In that moment, they made a choice, uniting in defiance against their inherited chaos. The trio leaped into the SUV, urgency mingling with fear. Richard slammed the door, just as the sound of vehicles and chaos erupted behind them. As they sped away, the landscape flying by in a blur, Oliver felt the spark of rebellion surge inside him. With allies by his side, answers waiting on the horizon, their battle was far from over. A new game was upon them now. Together, they would uncover the tangled truth of their family's legacy, down the rabbit hole, wherever it might lead. The weight of the past was heavy, but in that moment of escape, glimmers of hope began to surface. A rebellion against the darkness that loomed large. What awaited them in the future was unknown. But as they drove away, Oliver glanced at his friends, feeling a sense of unity build between them. They would fight, and they would find a way to break free from the chains that bound them. Because blood wasn't the only bond they shared. They had chosen each other. And they would not falter. Hey, before you go, you must subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the time to show your support. Press